Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round 9 of season 6 of F1 2021's Division 3 Championship. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentis. I'll be taking you through proceedings as per usual, and joining me once again in the commentary box is my fellow season 6 commentator, Mr. Jake Muttit. Jake, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, and as per usual, it's always a pleasure to be commentating alongside you. One of the best there is. Very. Oh, sorry, just wanted to, it's highlighted my week sitting here talking to you, talking about some racing. But we were saying before we came on air that we're a bit worried this is going to be a dead rubber of a race. But I've got high hopes. I said last week was going to be a chaos fest at Austria, and I was vindicated. I'm hopeful I'll be vindicated again. I think we're going to see a lot of spinners, a lot of bottles here. I know from practicing myself for D2, this is a very tricky little track. A lot of corners where the rear can step out of you. It's a mistake generator, this track, and there's a lot of corners we'll talk about, I'm sure. So I think this could be a race for attrition. I think we're going to see maybe only half the field, little over that, finish the race. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely can be an interesting one, like you say. Just by the way, thank you for the compliments and trying to fish for compliments as much as I can recently. So that was great. I didn't even have to try hard to do that one. But yeah, it's like you say. Obviously, at Hungary, the Budapest, the circuit, the Hungaroring in Budapest for round 9 of the championship. We are now officially as well halfway through the championship. So this is now the start of the second half of the season. So I think that is a good way to segue into talking about the championship standings coming up until this point. And it's fair to say we do have a runaway driver at the front of the field, and that is Forza Brendan. He's on a 5-race podium streak. He's had 3 wins so far this season out of 8 races. Finished on the podium 6 times out of 8. He's on 131 points. He has a full race win ahead of Tinkan on a 25-point gap, and Tinkan unfortunately is not here this evening, so that plays even more beautifully into Brendan's hands. Third in the championship is Carwin Robb. He is he's a further 23 points behind Tinkan, so he's now nearly 2 race victories off of our championship leader in third place in the standings. Behind Carwin Robb is Luco 5, the only other race winner that we've had this season. The top 4 of all run a race in this championship is then J. Cole, Brent, Rikurik, Funky Chicken, Chill, and YHYY that round off the points so far in this championship. Calvin, Cobalt, who's renamed himself to Rex, he is in the Alfa Romeo, and Mats, after his first podium last time out, all sit just outside of the points at the moment. They are 11th through to 13th. So, like I mentioned, it seems a bit like a runaway driver at the front of the field in terms of Forza Brendan. We've obviously briefly spoken before we've gone live about how strong the season has been for Forza Brendan, and tonight this could really be the major point for him in the championship, couldn't it? If he has a great race and Carwin Robb does not equally have a great race, Brendan could be having one hand on that trophy already.
Yeah, he could end tonight's race with a 50-point lead, which is near enough 2 race victories if you neglect the fastest laps, and that will be with just 8 races left. So, I mean, that's speculation. That's being very hypothetical there to say that could be the case, but I don't think it's unrealistic. I mean, Carwin Robb, he didn't have a great race last week, did he? He DNF'd after having a very bit of a scruffy affair around Hungary, and Brendan would have won that race, but for an ill-timed safety car, very fortuitously timed, for Tin Can. So, yeah, you can't really fault him. Since Spain, he has been faultless. And I said to you earlier that Singapore was probably the track this season that certainly of the races I commentated on, where he seemed to not quite have that raw edge of speed. And he still came away with a podium. And I think that's testament to the fact that he has the complete package. And thank God it's dry. Let's hope it's dry for the race.
Yeah, let's hope it is right for the race. But yeah, fully dry qualifying, at least for the first part. We never know, might get rain a little bit later on, but it looks dry at the moment, which is great to see. And we're going to be talking about this a lot this evening, aren't we? We're going to be talking about tyres. That's kind of the main factor around this track. We know Hungary, obviously known as the track, is basically Monaco without the walls. We know it's a difficult track to overtake on. This track is all about tyre management, isn't it? There's so many strategies that can work for you around this track, dependent on how good you are on your tyres. So I reckon we're probably going to see a lot of different strategies this evening, aren't we?
Yep, any combination of the 3 times oval, soft, medium and hard will work. You can start on any, you can finish on any, and they'll comfortably get you to the end of the race. But it is all about how well you manage them, particularly the temperatures is the thing that's going to be an issue here, and particularly for those drivers using a pad. They'll find themselves really struggling to keep the tyres in the correct window. They overheat, the car's going to understeer a lot more, it's going to wash across the track, and then it's sort of a self-perpetuating cycle. The more you overheat, the more you slide, the more you slide, the more you overheat, and it just becomes very difficult to bring them in. Wheel drivers will have a big advantage in the race in that regard, and I'd tentatively say we might see the wheel drivers go more likely to edge towards soft medium, and the pad drivers to go more towards soft hard, or vice versa, hard soft. But I've got no idea. As I say, there's so many strategies that we can do here. It's going to be an absolute lottery, I think, this one, in terms of who goes for what.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier on, a race of attrition as well. Safety cars, of course, can be very common around this track, so that's going to be another thing that these guys are going to have to factor into. First driver onto the track for a flying lap, though, is QVR Chill. He's had a bit of a horror show in the last 4 rounds. He's had 3 DNSs and 1 DNF in the last 4 rounds. He really needs to pick up his season again. Having led the championship after the first 2 rounds, he now sits down in 9th place in the standings, so he needs a good result this evening. He's coming down towards turn 2, down past the second DRS straight. Not really an overtaking opportunity unless you're already battling with someone coming out of turn 1, through the quick turn 3 into the end of the first sector then, and then this very fast left-hander of turn 4. 27.1 for the first sector, not the fastest we're going to see this evening. Probably see people dipping easily into the 26s in this first sector then. Coming up through the middle part of the lap now then, the longest sector on the track, the part of the track with the most corners, lobs it over the sausage curb on the inside and then loses the rear of the car on the exit, and you can already see Chill is starting to struggle on those tyres. The car is just sliding about here and there on traction. He's not quite got the turn in as well through then this fast turn 11. Very easy to run out wide. Got to keep an eye out that this evening as well. There are track limits for turn 11 into turn 12, and then this final sector, which is almost a mirror image really of the first sector with these final 2 corners. Very, very slow, very long corners, very difficult for the front tyres. They really do start to heat up through these corners. Really tight line through the last corner, really low minimum speed for turn 14 and to the line, and it's only a 16.7 for Chill on that first lap. That first one was a very scruffy for him, unfortunately. His teammate Funky Chicken, who was on pole this time last week, crosses the line, and he goes 1.4 seconds faster just through that lap from Chill. Wasn't quite what he would have wanted. Next across the line will be the 2 Alfa Romeos, I believe. Rex coming around the final corner and towards the line, and he's going to go onto a 16.4. He'll go into P2. Behind him on the track, actually, one of the Alfa Tauris just starting a lap on the medium tyres, and there comes Nathan across the line, only a 10th behind Chill, but also on the medium tyres. And Noah is out of the session, and we've already got our first retirement. That's coming out of turn 11. I feel like we might see quite a lot of that this evening.
Yeah, that's one of the big danger zones on this track, 10-11. It's easy for the curb just to kick you out if you go too tight through there, or likewise, if you understeer, the exit curb can spit you out as well. Brendan, first man in 14 to 1:14.9, but yeah, 10-11, turn 4, and even the exit of turn 5, I think, are all tricky places where the car can really spit you out. We saw that on board with Chill. So many traction zones at this track, and the car was squirreling all over the place. As soon as he tried to put the throttle down, it wanted to step out on him. And yeah, Noah has come a cropper, but he definitely won't be the last, even perhaps in this qualifying session, let alone the race.
Yeah, could be very common in this race, especially if we do have sunny conditions like this. It will be difficult for the tyres and to keep them in range. Next across the line, RJDW. We're seeing a lot of drivers, unfortunately, making a few mistakes on their first runs. White for Luke and RJDW all making mistakes in the middle part of their lap, which is why they have not really set representative times. We've only really had representative times from the top 4 maybe in this session, and immediately Forza Brendan into the 1:14s. Likely to see pole here, maybe a couple of tenths faster than that, around the mid-14 range. The mid to high 14s is probably where we're going to see pole position here this evening. Do you really see anybody apart from Carwin Rob and Forza Brendan being on the front row? Those two have been on the front row so much recently. Do you see anybody else challenging them?
The short answer is no. I could try and pick some names out of a hat and give you some reasons why they might get in amongst there, but I can't see it really. I think Brendan and Carwin Rob are a class above in qualifying this season. They're undoubtedly D2 level when it comes to absolute pace, and no doubt will be there next season. So I think people like Rick, Chill, maybe even Passe, Calvin, who's back after a couple of weeks away, you know, they've got the potential to sneak in there. Funky Chicken, who's currently second. But I think if Brendan and Calvin bring that again, there is no reason why they won't be on pole position. Speaking of Carwin Robb, he hasn't set a lap during these first runs for everyone else. He's now just coming out for his first run, so he's neglecting to do 3 runs here. I think he's just going for 2.
Yeah, looks like maybe saving a set of tyres for the race possibly is the Alpine driver. Tiag has joined back into the lobby, so hopefully he can get back into his car without any issues. One thing you will see a lot in this qualifying session as well, as we're seeing it with Carwin Robb, really slow outlaps onto their qualifying lap. It's so important to keep the tyre temps as low as you can, pretty much, without them obviously being stone cold, as low as you can for the start of your run, just to make sure that you don't overheat the tyres by the end of the lap, because the tyres don't really get a break throughout this lap. There's not a long enough straight apart from the pit straight where you can really save the temperature in your tyres in a qualifying lap. So that is why we're seeing Carwin Robb drive around at such a slow pace. And we saw Chill on his run running at quite a high pace on the outlap. So do you think that's possibly what made a lot of the difference for the Aston Martin driver?
Possibly, I think. Oh, and I just ran a ball with him there, and he has a huge slide coming to turn 13. I did notice on his original flying lap, he did use some of the curb there, and you don't want to really touch any of those grey curbs you could see on the inside of the last corner there. They really spit you out. They're what you might call auto spin curbs. They're horrible to ride over, and I think it's more that just Chill doesn't really. He's not in tune with this track. He's not hooked up with it. He's not enjoying it. Perhaps he's not practiced a little bit of car stepping out of him under traction there for turn 1. But yeah, I just think he's not enjoying the track. I think that's really Chill's problem right now, more than overworking the tyres. You can see understeering like a boat through 3. But yeah, that's Chill's problem. I think he just needs to dial into this track a little more, get a couple more laps in, and then go again at the end of the session once he's a bit more confident. Because right now, you can just see on board with him, he's just not happy. He's not happy at all.
Yeah, really struggling at the moment. One person that isn't struggling at the moment is Carwin Robb. He is on his lap at the moment, coming to the end of the second sector, and 0.6 in the first sector. That is a really strong first sector time, but he runs out wide at turn 11 and keeps the lap valid. That will not be allowed at all if that continues on this run, and he's backed off because of it. You can see that he's turned his CRS off, so Carwin Robb knows that isn't allowed. So that is one thing we're going to have to keep an eye on. Carwin Robb was really going for it on that run. It was looking like a solid lap time, and he's run out wide at turn 11 and kept the lap valid because of it and immediately backed off. He's going to go again on the same set of tyres. Even that lap backing off at the end was still good enough for 6th place, just showing, I think, that some of these drivers just haven't been able to find the time yet in this track. It's been so difficult for some of these drivers to get a good lap in. One person that's got a good lap in is Brent, who's just crossed the line in 6th place on the medium tyres, which is not a bad lap so far, you've got to say. Pretty strong from the AlphaTauri driver, who's had a pretty solid season up till now. Mediums for the top 10. It's possible, do you think, if other drivers maybe make mistakes like we've seen so far?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't think it's necessarily likely, but either way, that's a really strong lap from Brent. The delta here between mediums and softs, the in-game delta is about 1.3 seconds. So if he'd done that time on softs, he would have been on provisional pole. So don't count this man out of challenging the sharp end of the grid here if he goes onto the softs for the end of the session, because that is rapid pace for mediums. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some D2 drivers struggle to do a 16.0 on mediums later on. So really, that is a bit of a gauntlet from Brett. I'm not sure if many of the other drivers will realise it, but that's a cracking time.
Yeah, really good time, like you say. I think someone else has just jumped up in front of him. YHYY has gone 5th, I believe, in the Williams. In that meantime, he's now into the top 5 then, but there's still quite a spread amongst the top drivers. Passe, the other Williams, is going to cross the line. He can only manage a 16.3 on his set of medium compound tyres and goes P10. Rex is also on a lap on the medium tyres, but he's already 0.4 of a second down in the first sector. And Forza Brendan's gone and improved yet again. Another 0.2 that he has been able to find on that lap, and it's now a 14.7 from Forza Brendan. And as it stands, Forza Brendan is currently on pole by 0.6 of a second, just under 0.6 of a second. Never mind, make that 0.5 as Rekurik now goes onto the front row with a 15.2. Pretty solid lap from Rekurik, but still Forza Brendan half a second clear at the top of the field. We're obviously still yet to see the best from the likes of Carwin Robb, but either way, what a gauntlet that Red Bull man is setting down as his Red Bull teammate now goes onto the front row alongside him.
That is absolute daylight from Forza Brendan that he's put between himself and the rest of the field. And you briefly mentioned what's Carwin Robb going to do. On that second lap on those tyres, he went invalid and had to bail into the pits. So maybe neglecting that first run was very costly for Carwin Robb. In fact, he's coming out now, and he's coming out on mediums. That's spicy. So has he even got time to come back in and come for softs if he messes that one up? Because he's going to have to He's going to struggle to get top 10, I think, with mediums.
Yeah, that is really going to be a struggle for him if he does decide to go for that. By the way, the yellow flag in Sector 2 was for Darry. He was on a run. He spun coming through the chicane and has ended up nosing into the barrier and losing his front wing. So both McLarens then have had some sort of crash in this qualifying session. Noah out of the session. Darry currently in P6 but hasn't been able to improve. Funky Chicken around the final corner. Last week's pole sitter crosses the line and now he goes back up onto the front row. Finds 2/10, pretty much all in the final sector. So maybe sacrificing a little bit in the early part of the lap to save the tyres for the final part and gained a bit more time. It's very common that we can see drivers doing that, and that seems to be the way forward for the Aston Martin man.
Yeah, he goes really solidly in qualifying, doesn't he, Funky Chicken? He's always around third, fourth, fifth, sixth. You never see him mess up. Pole sitter last week, of course, Austria. He puts his head down and he gets the job done nicely in qualifying. And today, I think he might have been saving those tyres a little bit because they will be screaming through the last corner, especially. They could be, depending on how your temp management is, they could be around 106, 107 degrees, which is going to cost you a lot of performance through that last corner. So it is important to keep them in check. So just trying to have a look who's on quick laps right now. We've got J. Cole is the highest man, currently in P8. He's on a lap coming through the middle sector now. His Mercedes teammate Harry Noir is just starting one. And, Nathan's bailing on his lap. But let's see where J. Cole has come through the middle sector. He keeps it nicely in play. He's 3.6 tenths up coming into sector 3. That's going to chuck him up the order right now towards Darry, who's currently 6th. He has a habit, doesn't he, J. Cole, of messing up his qualifying sessions, not getting a good lap in, and usually starting somewhere down the back. But he's avoided that problem this time. He's a second off Brendan, but he's rapidly improving on that. Let's see where he comes as he comes across the line now. 15.4, that's a very solid effort from J. Cole, who's not necessarily been the best qualifier this season, has he? Even when he has hooked it up.
Yeah, not really quite been able to match the pace, really, of the drivers in front of him that you see at the moment in qualifying, but like you mentioned, his race pace does kind of save him in those instances. Last week was a prime example of what you were mentioning about him making mistakes on his run, starting right at the back of the field, as we've had.
And Carwin Robb's crashed.
Oh, my. Wow. Carwin Robb, then, has been such a strong qualifier all season long, and he's crashed coming into turn 13, the penultimate corner. That seems to be a very odd place to crash. I didn't quite catch that. Did he lose the car before turn 13?
He ran a little bit wide and then got trigger happy on his throttle. It was a bizarre incident. It just, the moment seemed to last forever. He zigzagged right and then came back across left, and just the car just wouldn't stop for him and just ended up in the barriers. It was very strange. It looked like it was more out of frustration because he was 3/4 of a second down on his time coming out of the second sector. So he wasn't there's no chance of an improvement there. I think that was just pure frustration. He slammed the throttle down coming out of turn 12 and the car just wouldn't have it. And that was a costly lapse in judgment there for him because he's not going to start in the top 10. As you said, such a good qualifier, front row in the first 7 races. And now 2 weeks in a row, he's going to find himself way down.
Yeah, right at the point in the championship as well where he needs those good results. He's dropped down the field in this qualifying session while his championship rival sits on provisional pole by a comfortable margin. Mats is currently on the lap, obviously podium last time out in Austria, but he's backed off his run coming out of turn 12, interestingly. He was 8/10 of a second up, so that could have put him just ahead of Carwin Robb if he was able to find a bit more time in the final sector, but he's backed off the lap and come into the pit lane, so I think he's going to go again, make sure he's got enough time to do another run on the softs at the very end of the session. Tiag, who's had a few problems in this lobby of being able to stay in the lobby at the moment, is currently out on a lap, but he's invalidated as he was on the medium tyre, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap as well. Jamie, obviously in for Tin Can this week in the Ferrari, still also yet to set a valid time in the session. Everyone now then just coming out onto the track, getting ready for their final runs in the session. You've got to say, is there really anybody you've got to say that's out of position? I think Chill, for the pace we know him from, is out of position, but he's running around just doing race laps, I think, by the seams of it. He's just getting some practice in, and is down in 15th. Other than that, maybe Passe, someone out of position? Of course, Carwin Robb, but I can't really think of anybody else that you think is maybe a little bit out of position.
No, I think the order they're at is pretty much the order they should be on pace. With Chill, I think you say he's just getting some practice in, but he's usually quicker than this, but I think he is at his pace level this weekend. And what's happened there, Nathan is crashed at the exit of turn 1. I said Noah wouldn't be the only one to come across. Nathan's now the 3rd, joining Carwin Robb and Noah in the garage, so very costly for him.
Yeah, very costly for the Alfa Romeo driver, just dropping it on the curb on the exit of the corner, unfortunately. So that's his session over and done with. His Alfa Romeo teammate for today, Rex, then coming up towards the end of the first sector. Only 14th at the moment. Cobalt, when he was a reserve at the start of the season, had two really good races. Spain especially stands out as a great race for Cobalt, despite early incident for him on the first lap. He had amazing pace. But since then, now that he's got a full-time seat in that Alfa Romeo, since then, it's just not come together for the American. He's not had the races he would have wanted. Currently down in 14th as we've got another one around. That's Tiag now that's crashed, coming out of turn 11 on his only lap in the session. So he is now out of the running as well. Rex comes through that corner. He's 2/10 up on his time, but at the moment, that won't be enough to get him inside the top 10. He's got to find at least another 2/10 in this final sector to get himself past Brent, who of course is still got that time on the medium tyres in 10th place at the moment. As around the final corner he comes, where can he put that Alfa Romeo? Chills now out of the session, coming out of turn 4. Rex crosses the line, he goes 4th. He finds a lot of time in that final sector, so clearly a mistake on his first run, and that's another one now into the 15.2s.
I'm just looking at Calvin. He's a 10th up and he's purple in sector 1. That was a great lap from Rex indeed, but Calvin is absolutely on this. He's nailing every apex through the middle sector. He's hooking up 9 and 10 nicely. Here he comes, flicks it into 11, misses the apex, a touch of understeer there, but he's quarter of a second up. He needs the mother of all final sectors, but could he challenge his teammate here, Forza Brendan, who currently sits on pole? Luke's popped into second place as well. Funky Chicken runs wide at turn 10. I don't think that lap is going to improve for him, so I think it's all on Calvin now if there's anyone who can challenge Forza Brendan. Here he comes round the final corner. He was a quarter of a second up at the end of the second sector. Where's he going to pop across the line? He's a 10th down, but that's a mammoth effort from Calvin, and it's back to an all REL front row as we saw a lot at the end of last season. And Brendan's up again. He's 200s up coming into sector 3. Red Bulls are on fire today, aren't they?
Yeah, really going well for them in qualifying. Calvin then the only other driver to get into the 14s at the moment. Funky Chicken, like you say, didn't improve, but he's going again on the same set of tyres. Rukurik is on a lap as well, a bit further round. Here comes Brendan then to the line. Is he able to improve yet again? He is, by half a tenth of a second. He solidifies that provisional pole position. YHYY in the Williams crosses the line and goes into 8th position. Into the pits, Rex's session is overdone with. Rukurik is not able to improve, so he's only 6th on the grid. For him, Darry's on a lap, but he's down in the middle part of the lap. Brent didn't improve on his time, so he stays in 12th for the time being. I think pretty much everybody's session's over and done with. Passay's on a lap at the moment. He's 6.5 tenths of a second up, coming through the second sector. Around the final corner, where can he put that? Williams, he crosses the line. He now goes into P7 ahead of his teammate and J. Cole then, and on to the 4th row of the grid. I think it's only Funky Chicken on a lap at the moment. He's a tenth of a second up, so he could get ahead of Luke, but he needs a mammoth final sector to be able to get ahead of any of the Red Bulls. It's a little wide there, coming out of turn 12. Didn't get the best run through the corner, comes round turn 13 and then the final corner of turn 14. What can Funky Chicken do in this final sector? These tyres will be old when starting this race. Rounds the final corner, comes towards the line. Funky Chicken from 4th. He stays in 4th position. He does improve, but by 1/100th of a second he misses out on that 3rd place, which is held by Luke. That is a qualifying session over and done with, and it's a Red Bull domination.
I think the most interesting thing to come from that qualifying actually is the fact we saw 6 drivers crash out under pressure there. Carwin, Rob, Nathan, Chill, Noah, Jamie, Tiog. And I worry for how that bodes for the race, to be honest with you. We said last week, didn't we, during Austria, how much the race just fell into Brendan's lap at every turn, right up until that safety car that brought Tin Can into play. He doesn't have to do anything, does he, Brendan? He just has to drive the car, and his title rivals just fall away from him. He can do no wrong at the moment, which pains me to say. I want to be critical, but I can't. He does absolutely. He never puts a foot wrong. Fabulous qualifying again, and he's on pole again.
On pole again, once again, like you say, great for him and the championship with his closest championship rival in this race, down at the back of the field without setting a representative time in the session. Red Bull front row then, Forza Brendan and Calvin, then it's Luke, Funky Chicken, Rex, Rukurik, Passay, J. Cole, YHYY and Darry. Your top 10, they'll all start on the soft compound tyres. The first person outside of the top 10 is Harry Nawag in the second Mercedes, then it's Matt, RJDW, Brent, Carwin, Rob, Nathan, Chill, Noah, Jamie and Tiag, all 6 of those drivers crashing out of that session without setting representative times. And a lot of those drivers out of position, you've got to say, of course, Carl and Rob out of position. Till as well, we saw him not really setting times, but he still managed to crash out of the session. A lot of those drivers out of position, but it's not the end of the world for them because there are so many strategy options at this track.
Yeah, and based on their qualifying, I would not put a safety car at any point in this race past this division tonight. So it could play into anyone's hands at any time, really. You could be 16th and starting 16th and tootling along, and then a safety car just pops up at the right time. You're on the right strategy, and it just plays into your hands, and you end up gunning for a podium. So there's every chance for every driver here. I wouldn't rule anyone out of getting a top 5 finish, certainly. But you can't look past the front two, can you? The title rivals from D4 last season, Calvin and Brendan, I think you've got to look at them for the race today. There's no one behind them, to me, that looks like they've got any kind of... They can hold any race pace up to Brendan, really. I'm less sure about Calvin. He's a bit of an unknown quantity, I think, this season, because he's missed a few races. But certainly, the guys behind them, I don't think anyone can hold the torch up to Brendan. He's got this field under his thumb. I'm sorry to say for the rest of them.
Yeah, it's looking great for him at the moment, isn't it? I think the only thing that's stopping him from possibly running away with this race, of course, the safety cars and that run down into turn 1, despite it obviously being a track that's difficult to overtake at, it is actually quite a long run into turn 1 and a pretty heavy and deep braking zone. So if Calvin or Luke, for example, can get a good enough run in towards turn 1, they can be ballsy on the brakes, brake a little bit later, and you can get the move done down the inside or down the outside at turn 1. So while it's looking great for Brendan, he's got to make sure that he gets off the line cleanly as well.
Yeah, for lap 1, there's so many lines round turn 1, as the real life Hungarian Grand Prix showed us to great effect this season. As you say, Brendan won't know where to defend, particularly whether to defend inside or to defend the outside, because it's a case of a bit of a lose-lose. Whichever way you go, the other guy can just go deeper the other side of you, so it becomes impossible to defend for lap 1. After that, I think if he gets through turn 1, I think he'll be fine. But Calvin, Luke, Funky Chicken will all fancy their chances, I think, of getting a place or two off the line. And of course, Brendan it is a fairly long run down to turn 1, and Brendan won't have slipstream to help him along. He'll have to use his airs up, so that throws an extra variable into the mix for him as well.
Definitely does. Yeah, of course, looking at the tyres for the drivers outside of the top 10 as well. Everyone from Harry Newag down to Nathan in 16th are all on the medium compound tyres. Chill and Noah have gone for the hard compound tyres, as has Tiago at the back of the field. Jamie in 19th on the medium, so a bit of a split in strategy outside the top 10, especially those right at the back of the field, though. Before we get going for the Hungarian Grand Prix in round 9 of the season, though, Jake, I'm going to ask you that question that I feel like we might jinx someone here, but who do you think could win this race?
I'm going to say Brendan, and I'm going to say Rickrick second and J. Cole third.
Good options there. We'll see what they can do. Can experience be the winning factor in this race? We're probably going to see a surprise winner. We've only had 4 winners this season, remember. Can we get our 5th tonight, or is Forza Brendan going to take this opportunity and run away at the front of the championship? The lights are about ready. They're a little bit delayed, I believe, so here we go for the lights ahead of the drivers. And the lights are out, and away they go. It's a fairly even start from the front row. Both the Red Bulls get off the line fairly well, and they're easily able to cover down towards turn 1. Rex from 5th on the grid has split the middle of the two, starting on the second row. He's had a pretty good start on the Alfa Romeo. He's going to make his way through the middle of the two of them. A little bit of contact, though, coming out of the corner, and Luke runs a bit wide. That's allowed Funky Chicken past. Luke has dropped from 3rd to 5th. Funky Chicken trying to hold his way around the outside of the Ferrari. Can he hold that move down the inside of turn 3? Luke gives him the space. They're going to run side by side up towards turn 4. Kirk in there as well, trying to see if he can make any gains. Someone has spun at the back of the field. That's RJTW and Jamie that have come into contact. Out. Oh, my,
J. Cole just completely dropped it on the apex of turn 4. There was just no grip for him, and it just completely gave way.
That is such a shame for J. Cole, then out before the first lap is over and done with. His teammate Harry Newag being shoved off the track there by the McLaren of Darry, who's got a lot of front wing damage. He's dropping down the field as well. So yet again a disaster for Darry in the McLaren. Carwin Robb has come out of this place nicely. He's now in 9th on the medium compound tyres with Brent just behind him. So that's worked out brilliantly for them. Down in the back as well, Chill a little bit off the road, coming through turn 11, sorry. But towards the end of the first lap, Forza Brendan and Calvin hold it at the front of the field. Rex though, from 5th on the grid in the Alfa Romeo. A great start, and he's immediately onto the back of Calvin. Rex looking pretty racy in these opening phases.
Yeah, he's looking in really good shape, isn't he? If he can stick with these two, we might even have a race on our hands. And Jamie's retired at the back at between turns 12 and 13. Is that going to be a safety car? J. Cole didn't bring one out. I don't think we're going to see one there. I think it's past the window for that. Yeah, cracking start from Rex. And there's already a bit of a gap forming between himself and Funky Chicken behind. He's got Luke and Rick in close company. But what a start that was for Carwin Robb. That was about as good as he could have hoped for. Up to 9th on the mediums. He's in a really good place now, just to settle down. He's got a bit of a gap behind Brett behind him, and he can make good progress now. White is nearly out, in fact, of Passe's DRS, so he might even be able to pick one off very, very soon.
Yeah, brilliant start for him. Brent as well, clinging onto the back of that queue quite nicely on the mediums. Like you mentioned, a bit of a gap back to Harry Noag, who was held up in that mess caused by Darry in the background there. Matt's thinking about a move on Nathan towards the first part of the middle sector, but not getting the move done, so he'll stay in 13th for the time being. Chill is the man right behind him. He's the first of the hard runners. He's had a pretty solid start in this race, but 2 people out already in this one. Darry at the back of the field with the front wing change. RGW, the other driver involved in that incident, he's spun down to the back of the field. He's in 7th. He's on without any damage. We come to the end of lap 2, onto lap 3, and the DRS is now enabled. A 19.2 from Forza Brendan, fastest lap of the race, and he's nearly broken DRS to his teammate already. And we mentioned on that last lap that Rex was all over the back of Calvin. It's now swung in the opposite direction. Funky Chicken is now behind the Alfa Romeo. As I say that, a big wobble coming out of turn 1, but he's able to get away with it. But Rex is kind of ebbing and flowing a little bit for the Alfa Romeo. Now is where we start to see who's able to manage the temperatures in those soft compound tyres. So we'll see who is and who isn't struggling. And you've got to say the first of the soft runners that looks like they're struggling is YHYY. He just can't keep up with the soft runners in front of him.
Yeah, it's lap 3 that you'll really see the temps come into play, and whoever's a poor manager of their tyres they'll really expose themselves here, because once you lose the softs, it's so hard to bring them back in and keep speed. I think Passe looks like he's struggling a little bit. A lot of understeer there through turn 7 and 8 and through 9 as well now. I did see last lap actually that Rex fully extended turn 11, contrary to the stewards update that's been issued for this weekend. If people keep doing that, there's going to be penalties handed out. And we've got someone around, that's Noah at the back. He's come across like he did in qualifying. But yeah, drivers can't run wide at turn 11 and extend to avoid a warning. But, if they keep doing that, it's going to cause a problem, I think, and they might be the subject of a stewards report or two. But let's have a look at this first lap with DRS. Here comes Funky Chicken, first man to make an overtake. Rex has got nothing to defend with. He's got no slipstream, no DRS, but he keeps Funky Chicken ahead. For this time at least, I've noticed in practice that slipstream and DRS aren't as powerful here as they are at other tracks, so he may be able to stay ahead of Rex for a while longer yet. Carmen Robb further back has dispatched YHYY. I said YHYY was vulnerable out of Passe's DRS, and Carmen Robb has got past him at the earliest opportunity, and he's now up into 8th.
Yeah, around the outside as Noah's retired in the pit lane. Unfortunately, what a disaster it's been for both McLarens in this race so far. But Carwin Robb easily around the outside of turn 1 in that Alpine, making it look fairly simple. White immediately dropping back now into the clutches of Brent. They are still pulling away ever so slightly from Harry Noag, who has now got Nathan all over the back of him. So I think Nathan may be feeling he's a little bit held up at this point in the race. Forza Brendan, now that DRS has been enabled and Calvin's lost to DRS range, Forza Brendan just starting to pull away now. It's 1.6 seconds, and again, Rex really wide there coming out of turn 11. It keeps it a bit closer within the track limits this time around, but that is more than likely a warning around that corner. And Funky Chicken, you can tell, is just biding his time at this point in the race. And look at the understeer there from the Alfa Romeo. Is into the pits, and Funky Chicken's followed him in at the end of lap 4, and my word, Rex really deep into the pit lane, nearly hit the end of the pit wall.
I wonder if that gave... was there contact there? Could that have given Chicken a spot of damage, or did he just about avoid that? Because if there was damage, it's not going to get changed. I don't think that would be very costly for Chicken. I don't think there was contact, so that's lucky for him. But that was a weird moment for Rex, and he's just showing the extent of that overheating, that he just couldn't get the car turned in. Even at 70, 80 miles an hour, the car just wouldn't turn for him, and that is the scale of these issues that some of these guys are going to be having if they can't manage the temps.
Yeah, real struggle for there, and they're both out of the pit lane on the medium compound tyres. They are both on the mediums. Then Rex 15th, Funky Chicken just behind him in 16th position, so they hold the positions that they were coming into the pit lane. That's freed Luke into a little bit of clean air to see if he can maybe close in on Calvin, but still Forza Brendan on those softs, just driving away at the front of the field. Now 2-second gap back to his teammate. Doesn't seem to be struggling at all. Not really any ERS usage from the leader of this race as well. Still up at 80% compared to the 60 that Calvin is on. So Brendan making it look easy at this point in the race. Look in the background though, Carwin Rob has already caught up to the back of Passe and is thinking about a move. So already the medium tyre is looking like the much stronger tyre at this point in the race. Will we see anybody else dive into the pit lane? Calvin has dived into the pit lane. Passe is also into the pit lane as well. Rikurik and Luke stay out, as does our race leader. So Calvin clearly coming in to cover off the other two that pit the lap before.
I think that's a wise decision from Calvin, but the interesting thing is, is he going to go hards or is he going to go mediums? He's gone mediums as well. The mediums are going to struggle to get to the end of the race here. They wear at about 3% a lap, so unless these guys know something I don't, they're going to be pushing close to 90%. Of course, I assumed everyone would be one-stopping, but maybe people are looking at a two-stop. But they're going to struggle, and in fact Calvin's behind Rex here. It's going to be side by side through turn one. It's going to be so tight. The tyres are like ice when they first come out of the pits. Calvin's going to have no confidence into turn two. They're going to be side by side. I don't think Rex will have DRS. And Calvin cuts right across him, and there's contact there. They barge wheels not once, not twice, and then they pinch up the apex of turn three, that kink there. I don't know how Calvin didn't spin round there, and now they're side by side through four, and Calvin has to back out of it. And how on earth was that not an airplane crash? Calvin hung in there as long as he could, but that was elbows out all the way, wasn't it? And Rex is through, and that's very costly for Calvin in his battle. If he's trying to undercut his teammate, well, there's no chance of that now.
Yeah, no chance whatsoever, and that might have saved Forza Brendan a little bit from a bit of an undercut as well. That little battle as Brendan now into the pit lane. Luke's going to come into the pits as well. Rikurik is staying out for another lap, interestingly, so he's continuing on. But look at Carwin Rob, just so easy for him to stick to the apex of the last corner, and it's just going to breeze past the Haas down the pit straight. So Carwin Rob now into the lead of the race. Remember, he started this race in 14th place. He now leads at the start of lap 7, so great work through the first phase of this race for the Alpine man. Then in behind, Brent has just got past White White as well. So Rikurik and White White sticking it out, trying to go a little bit longer in this race. But you've got to say, with everybody else around them pitting, they're just losing out in the long runners out of the pit lane. Luke is going to come out on the hard compound tyres. Calvin's managed to get past Rex somewhere on that lap. I think he's got him down the pit straight. Luke has come out right in the middle of this battle. Luke on the hard compound tyres, trying to go around the outside as Darius retired in the pit lane. Luke is going to be a carbon copy of the lap before. Rex and Luke this time around. Luke for the outside of turn 4. Can he get the move done? He's going to try and stick it in, but he can't get the move done. Rex holds on to 13th, but Calvin's managed to get back ahead of the Alfa Romeo just as they catch RJGW, who hasn't pitted yet.
Yeah, RJDW is struggling like crazy. Look at Calvin hounding him like a wolf trying to get past. And that Alpine is so slow. I wonder if it's got damage there, because turn 11 is not an overtaking place. And yet Calvin just had so much more confidence there. And look, again, RJ's just got no speed at all. And Rex is weaving behind him. This train is absolutely fantastic racing. I'm not sure if all of it's clean, but it's very entertaining. And look at Rex trying to force his way around the outside of turn 13. He cuts back underneath his RJ. Is he going to come into the pits? No, he's not. And he's over-defending there through the last corner. Rex is just going to go clean around the outside of him. Fabulous stuff from Rex. He gets through. And Luke's now going to dispatch RJ as well, who's got nothing to defend with here. He's got no pace, no confidence. And there's Rikurik coming out of the pits right in the middle of all this as well.
Yeah, Funky Chicken's managed to get down the inside. Rikurik's come out of the pit lane right in front of Passe. Passe was right behind Rikurik, but that whole battle there, being held up behind RJ, has maybe cost Passe the opportunity of undercutting Rikurik and all of that. He's managed to stay ahead of his Williams teammate YHYY. They're all on the medium tyres, apart from Luke. Luke is the only one of those that started on the softs that's gone onto the hard compound tyres. He's trying something a little bit different. He's going to struggle in these next 5 or 6 laps to keep up with the medium runners around him, but it will come to him. One person that isn't struggling though at the moment, Carwin Rob, an 18.6 on 7-lap-old medium compound tyres, half a second faster than the previous fastest lap of the race. Carwin Rob at the front of the field is absolutely flying.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on his delta to Forza Brendan in P8, and it's not bad. You know, Brendan only a couple of tenths quicker a lap, or a few tenths quicker a lap on tyres that, as you say, are 7 or 8 laps fresher than Carwin Robb. So he's doing a sterling job. And at the rate he's at, with the way they're battling, he could end up. He's going to be very close to this Rex, Luke, Funky Chicken Rick, Passe train when he does come in because of all their battling with RJ. So Carwin Robb could end up doing the mother of all overcuts here and shoot his way straight into a net second place.
Yeah, could work out perfectly for him if he's able to do that. Behind him, Brent is running a little bit on his own at the moment. He's 3.8 seconds behind the Alpine in front and 1.5 seconds ahead of Harry Noir, who's the only driver at the moment with a track limits penalty as it stands. Those that started on the hards, Chill and Tiag, just haven't had the pace at this point in the race. They're still 4 seconds back, and Chill there, a big slide coming out of turn 5. Starting on the hards so far just hasn't worked for those two. They've just got no grip and no pace. And look at that, Brendan already onto the back of Tiag, ready to pass him before he's made a pit stop.
I think their race strategy today will be safety car lap 20, please, to the league racing gods, because those hards today not working and Tiag nearly sliding through turn 11 there. Brendan is going to dispatch him very quickly, I think, down the main straight as soon as turn 1 approaches them. He is now really catching Brendan, actually. He's taken half a second out of Calvin Robb this lap. Tiag will impair that progress slightly. The more interesting gap I'm looking at is Calvin Robb and Calvin. Calvin is not really catching Calvin Robb at all. And I think Rex and Luke are falling back as Rickerick has a big moment there coming out of turn 13. Passe sniffing around, and Forza Brennan does get past Tiag as expected. But yeah, this battle isn't over. I'm really intrigued where Calvin Robb's going to come out, because the more these guys fight, it's going to cost them. And look at that, Passe and Rick at it again. Funky Chicken's having a look at Luke. These guys need to realise that, Carwin Robb's going to overshoot all of them right now unless they just get in the train and get on with it. And Passe's going into turn 2. Oh, I thought that was his nose was going to get chopped off then. But yeah, cracking stuff, but these guys have costed themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, not working out at the moment for them. And the problem that they've got as well, Rex at the moment on those medium compound tyres can't keep up with Calvin in front. Calvin now 2 seconds ahead. And there you go, Rex again wide coming out of turn 5. He's extended so many places on this track so far. He's now 2 seconds behind Calvin, and Luke on the hard compound tyres is able to keep up. So at this point, the drivers from Luke, Funky Chicken, Recuric and Passe, and White now, who's caught onto the back of them, they're all just starting to their progress is maybe being a little bit hindered now by Rex, who, since he's put on the medium compound tyres, just hasn't had the pace of the drivers around him. So maybe Rex here could be the bit of a cork in a bottle. If he gets out of the way of Luke, that could really open up Luke's race. But look at that, Funky Chicken all over the back of the Ferrari again through turn 13, but he's not going to get a fast enough run as Brendan now, the fastest lap of the race, an 18.4. He is now coming up to the back of Chill. He's within Chill's DRS range already. He's pulled 1.5 seconds on Tiag in a lap already. So just like Austria, it's falling into Brendan's lap at the moment.
Yeah, Rex is doing a stellar job for Brendan, keeping any threats to his crown at bay. And yeah, he's coming up drivers in isolation. He's able to pick them off with ease. He's not approaching a train. That will change when he reaches Tim Matz. Oh, and Nathan's round. I just caught that. He dropped out on the exit of turn 5, and he's going to come right into that Chill Brendan battle, and he's ghosted, so he won't have to worry about waiting for them. But yeah, playing into Brendan's hands nicely. It's also playing into Calvin Robb's hands, because I think Rex is struggling with some overheating on his mediums as he was on the softs, which is why his pace dropped off before he came in pits. And Calvin Robb he's definitely going to overcut these guys, because he's pulling away from Rex by about half a second a lap right now. So if that stays up much longer, Calvin Robb will definitely be ahead of Rex, and he'll be a net third, and he'll come up against Calvin all by himself, nice and vulnerable for him to overtake. So it's playing into Brendan's hands, but definitely don't count Calvin Robb out. And Chill nearly loses it out of the last corner, and that's going to make Brendan's work a piece of cake.
Yeah, here he comes then around the outside towards turn 1. Chill decides to defend it down the inside, but nothing he can do. And Brendan into 5th place on the track then. He's got 4.2 seconds up to the queue of cars in front. That is Harry Noag and Matt. And then just in front of that, Brent in the other AlphaTauri as well. We'll see how quickly he does catch. And now it all depends really as Nathan's into the pits. It all depends now on what Carwin Robb's strategy is. Does he extend and go for the softs at the end of the race? Or does he pit in a few laps' time and come in and put the hard compound tyres on? I think Luke at the moment is proving that on the hard compound tyres he's not struggling. He's under a little bit of pressure from Chicken behind, but it's not a struggle for him to keep up with Rex in front. So the hard compound tyres in the hands of Luke at least aren't looking too bad. And if Carwin Robb does come in now, it means that that drop off in pace he's going to have on the mediums a little bit later on maybe won't happen, and he can capitalise on overcutting them now rather than waiting maybe a little bit too long and coming in when they've all repassed him again in the net positions.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout. Come in early, avoid the drop off on the mediums, go for hard. So we've got
Oh,
a yellow
Chill's
flag.
out.
Chill is out. Is that a safety car?
It is.
It is.
Oh, and Brendan's pitted. Wow. Forza
I think
Brendan.
that's sensible. I think
Yeah.
that's sensible because his mediums weren't going to make it to the end, and that was a point I was going to make actually very soon. Was that the guys who picked for mediums early on were not going to get to the end. They were going to get to around 90%. So I think that's only sensible that everyone who pitted for mediums will now realise, and those who started on hard TR coming in. But yeah, the ones who pitted early for mediums, they weren't going to get there. They needed to make a change or risk a puncture, so that's only sensible from Brendan. Luke, interestingly, stayed out on those hards, so he has jumped massively ahead of the train, but he's going to struggle, I think, to to keep them behind them, because it's now old hards versus fresh mediums behind.
What this has done, though, I can tell you that has gifted Carwin Robb a massive opportunity in this race. Our race leader, he can come into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and because of course the rest of the pack is running at a lower speed, Carwin Robb could come into the pits here and beat Calvin out of the pit lane. Calvin is our net leader of those that have pitted in this race. Carwin Robb, even Brent Harrenwag and Mats have an opportunity here of jumping a lot of drivers. We'll see where Carwin Robb comes in, where he comes out when he does pit. Is it a mistake for Brendan to come into the pit lane? Do you think he could have maybe stayed out and tried to nurse those to the end? Because coming in has put him behind Carwin Robb on the track by the looks of things.
I mean, I would have done what Brendan did. I would have come in because I'm a wuss, and I know that I wouldn't have been confident in risking those tyres. But you've got to play the numbers game when you're in a championship fight, and Brendan did the sensible thing and made sure his tyres got to the end of the race. So I can't really fault his decision making there. I think he did the sensible thing. He is going to come out behind, at least the first AlphaTauri. He's going to come out behind Brent, and I think Harry Nawag as well. Of course, Tim Mats would have had to be held behind his teammates. That could end up costing Tim Mats to Brendan. It's going to be very close, I think, between Brendan and Tim Mats, actually, because Brendan can go now, because Carwin Robb's caught up to the safety car. It's actually going to be very close, and I think Tim Mats has just done it, has he? Yeah, he beat him to the safety car line, so Tim Mats ahead of Brendan.
Wow. My oh my. For the second race in a row, Forza Brendan's looked like he's had this race in the bag, and then a safety car midway through the race has completely flipped this race on its head. Forza Brendan now has got to try and work his way back through the pack to the front of the field on a track that's notoriously difficult to overtake on. But Calvin in second place is on an older set of medium compound tyres. He couldn't come in. He would have been jumped by all of the drivers behind him, having to double stack behind his teammate. The rest of them are all on hard compound tyres, so gonna be really interesting to see what they decide to do. Luke, interestingly, did pit again, so he decided not to continue on the hards. He's come back in for a fresh set of mediums and come back out in the same position he was before the pit stop, before the safety car came out anyway, so he's not lost anything by doing that. He's on a fresh set of mediums. Forza Brendan now, though, for the second week running, has a massive task on his hands to work his way back through the field.
Yeah, and absolutely through no fault of his own. And Rex has hit him. Rex has hit him through turn 11.
I think Rex might have just desynced there, because he's just driven through a number of drivers. He hit Tiag as well. I don't know if that's a desync from Rex or whether he was maybe in AI mode and something happened there, but he has just hit Tiag and Forza Brendan under the safety car. I wonder if that's given any of those two damage. That is awful for Forza Brendan and Tiag if that is the case, that Rex is desynced and caused a problem under the safety car.
Well, I hope not. I've not experienced rear wing damage in this game, so I have no idea what it's like, but if Brendan's got it, hopefully it's not severe and it doesn't affect his performance, because that is so unfortunate. I have no idea what happened. As you say, must have been desync. We saw that severely in D1 last week at Austria, so I'll assume it's more of the same. Lay the blame with Codemasters rather than with Rex, as one always ought to do. The drivers are driving so close on the car. This is a pet peeve of mine. I hate it, seeing how close drivers bunch up to each other, because it just invites those 5-second penalties. You want to see nice spread out driving. I mean, Luke and Funky Chicken are nearly line astern there looking back, and you just see drivers rush up, pull alongside and then drop back, and it's just so frustrating and distracting. And I'll conclude my little rant there, but I just wish the guys here and in every division would just spread out a little bit, give each other some room to breathe, because this is where the 5-second penalties come from.
Yeah, definitely is. That is a lot of the cause, and fingers crossed we don't see any more 5-second penalties. But if we do get another safety car and another pit stop is needed, that is tragic for Forza Brendan and Tiag's race that they've got those penalties. Unfortunately, Tiag as well, having been put in a great position by the safety car, has already got that looming over his head. That's a real shame. Hopefully that was just a mistake. Hopefully that was just obviously a problem with Codemasters, not anything that Rex did just untoward. Hopefully that isn't the case, but we should be getting going again at the end of this lap. We'll have 20 laps left in this race. Everybody, if there's no safety car, should be going to the end of this race from this point onwards, and the safety car is in. All that Carwin Rob needs to do now is gap Calvin as quickly as he can and get up the road before Forza Brendan starts to make his way back through the field.
He absolutely does, and he's got to help him in that. He's got Calvin, who's on 8-lap-old tyres, which I think will not get to the end of this race. So Calvin, I think, is going to struggle the first 2 laps. So he's got fresh hards behind him. Carwin Rob's got 4 cars behind him on worse tyres than Brendan that Brendan's got to get through. So this is paid perfectly into his hands.
It really has here. Where does Carwin Rob decide to go for the safety car restart? He's not gone yet out of this final corner. Hopefully everyone's recognised that. There we go. He has gone just by the line then. Calvin's reacted to it quite well. He's in the tow. Brent as well was further back down the field with Kurik trying to make the move there on Funky Chicken. Harry Nawag and Timat side by side in towards turn 1. Timat's trying to get down the inside but can't get that move done in towards the corner. Kurik did get the move done though on Funky Chicken in towards turn 1. So a great restart from the Hassman. Has got upper place past the Aston Martin. You can see there in the background as well, Rex trying to work his way past Tiag as Tiag picks up a penalty on the inside of turn 3. But Carwin Rob leads. It's a solid restart from him. Calvin sticking with him quite nicely. Brent, Harry Nawag, Timat, Forza Brendan, your top 6. Where can Forza Brendan get in this race? Can he get further up? Has he got damage from that desync that Rex just had? And Rikurik, like I mentioned, a great restart from him. Caught everybody napping at that safety car restart and has managed to get up a place.
Yeah, it's been a very tidy restart. I was worried we were going to see a bit of madness into turn 1 and turn 2, but I'll tell you what, Brendan isn't hounding Timmats like I thought he would for fresh mediums versus fresh hards. Maybe he has got a little bit of damage, or maybe he's just easing himself back into it. Hopefully he can get on with the job very quickly. Calvin is staying with Rob really well, considering he's on old tyres. I thought Calvin Rob would shoot off like a rocket, but Calvin is doing a stellar job here on tyres, which I'll put my house on will not get to the end of the race, but we'll see. But for now, Calvin's doing an absolutely stellar job.
Yeah, doing a brilliant job, like you say, in that second position. Brent right behind as well in third, looking pretty solid at this point in the race. Anawag and Matz, the other drivers on the hard compound tyres, to look out for them. Got a bit of a queue now. It's now just a wait really for DRS and to see who starts struggling on their tyres, if anybody does start. It looks like Rex is probably the closest man to making a move at this point. No DRS and very short braking zones means it's incredibly difficult for him to make that move. And the first person I think that looks like they might be losing DRS here is Harry Nawag on those hard compound tyres. Doesn't quite at this point maybe have the pace of Brent, Calvin and Carwin Rob in front. He's right on the bubble of losing DRS to the 3 in front, and as I say that, he hops over the curb on the inside of the chicane and has dropped out of that 1 second window.
Yeah, you just need one person to break the chain and suddenly the overtakes just open up in all through the field. So Harry Nawag has been cut adrift from Brent, although he might just sneak in. You know, he has a wide apex there at turn 12, but he might just sneak in at the end of this lap. But I don't think he's going to stay there for very long, because Brent, Calvin and Carwin Rob are on another level right now. And there's Rex is round, is he? Has he made a mistake? What happened there?
I think he has made a mistake. I just missed that. I don't know if he attempted to move on someone or just lost the car, but he's dropped a couple of places behind Luke and Rikurik then. No damage by the looks of things, so it might have just been a small error going into turn 13. There's that big dip in the track before the corner, so maybe lost it there. Funky Chicken trying to make the move on the inside as well, but he's not close enough in the braking zone to get that move done. But Rex, a crucial mistake in this race, drops a couple of places with people behind him ready to make the move as well. Calvin now is starting to struggle compared to Carwin Rob. Carwin Rob has nearly broken that 1 second window. Harry Nawag has dropped out of a second's range, and now Forza Brendan is starting to hound the back of Timmats, maybe just easing his way into it on those medium compound tyres, and now it looks like he's starting to put the pressure on.
It's hard to believe we're only halfway through this race. It feels like it's been going on forever, in a good way, not in a bad way. But yeah, Calvin really starting to struggle now. His tyres might just be overheating a touch, and he slipped. Well, he was slipping because he was 9/10 behind at the start of this lap. He's now 1.4, so he's had an awful middle sector. 1.5 now. He's going to really struggle to keep those in if he is having any overheating issues, and I think Brent is going to get past him. This first lap we have DRS and Harry Nawag. I think both AlphaTauris are ready to make moves here on the main straight.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do then. Brent on the back of Calvin coming through turn 14. Tucks in for a really tight line through the corner. Has he got the run on the Red Bull in front? The Red Bull moves to the middle of the track. And look at that though, the straight line speed from the AlphaTauri of Brent is going to go down the inside line. Nothing Calvin can do, and Brent moves up into second position in the background. Tim Matz is not close enough to make the move on Harry Nawag, and likewise Brendan's not close enough to make the move on Tim Matz, so he's just getting stuck at this point in the race behind the AlphaTauri in front of him. He can't get the move done on the AlphaTauri. He's going to think about a cut there just towards turn 3, try and get the better run through the corner. Is he close enough for a look at to turn 4? He's on his ZRS looking to the inside line, but he's not close enough. Tim Matz a little wide though through the corner. You can tell Forza Brendan's got so much more grip, but the fact that Matz is able to get DRS off the back of Harry Nawag is just keeping him in front.
And the trouble for Brendan is that he's using up the best of his tyres bottled up behind Tim Matz, and you see how much Tim Matz is struggling through the chicane there, or rather how much more speed that Brendan has. And look at that, Tiag's even having a look at Brendan through turn 9 there, getting very interested was the Haas man. But yeah, Brendan's using the best of his tyres. It's gonna put him at a disadvantage if he can't get close to Carwin Rob now. He's gonna struggle to do it at the end of the race, given how long it's taken him to get through these guys. He needs Matz to drop back from Harry Nawag or get past him, because right now this whole train is neutralised.
Yeah, right now it's not working for him at the moment, is it? But Matt's a bit further back this time around. Brendan, though, not able to get the run. An 18.3 from Brent, the fastest lap of the race then. He's up into second place, and again, look at that, Matt's with the DRS on Harry Nawag, keeping him in front of the Red Bull for the time being. Brendan really late on the brakes into turn 1, but not close enough to try and make a move into the corner. Can he think about a move again through turns 3 and up towards turn 4? He's going to have to take a mega run through this corner, and again, Tim Matz is a little wide, but Brendan just not close enough to make that move stick. And it's so difficult to overtake on this track once you're stuck in a queue. You have to kind of wait for the driver in front to make a mistake, and at the moment all this is doing is it's just taking the life out of those medium compound tyres, and as this race goes on the advantage is just going to swing more and more towards Matz, and it's just going to make it even harder for Brendan.
Absolutely. He's now 5.7 off the lead, and 5 places off the lead on tyres that are going to rapidly age compared to Carwin Rob's hards. I can't see Brendan winning this race right now. I can't see a mechanism for him to win this race. It's just not going to work for him, as you say. The longer it goes on, the more the initiative, the advantage is passed to Matz, and Brendan can't take a risk, because you can look, Tiag, Luke, Rickrick, Rex, Funky Chicken, Passe, YHYY, Nathan, Rajay, the whole rest of the field is right on his backside. So if Brendan makes a mistake, if he loses one place, he's likely to lose a few more to go with it. And here goes Tim Matz now. Harry Nawag's derating in towards turn 1. He sends it down the outside as Tim Matz. He plays a sensible game, tries to cut back underneath the Mercedes, but there's nothing going there. Harry Nawag is out of hers though, so I think we might see this place change hands next lap. But for now, it's going to be a whole other lap for Tim Matz and for Brendan to endure the pain of Harry Nawag's Mercedes.
Yeah, just not working as Brendan again thinking about a move up towards turn 4, but just not close enough to get that move down the inside. You can tell he's just starting to get a little bit frustrated. This happened in Austria, of course. This exact scenario pretty much in a different circuit happened last time out on a track that's much easier to overtake on. Spain as well, another track where this kind of situation happened for Brendan. We all know, of course, what happened at Spain for the Red Bull man. Look at this queue of cars behind Harry Nawag. You can just see it on the track map alone. Everybody from Harry Nawag down to 15th, the last driver on this track, RTGW, is all in a DRS queue. The top 3 in this race have disappeared out front because of Harry Nawag just holding the rest of the field back. Is Matz close enough this time around to make a move? He's not close enough, I don't think. Coming through turn 13, he's 7/10 of a second back. That's not close enough to think about a move into turn 1. Is Brendan close enough to capitalise on the AlphaTauri? He's got a good run coming out of the final corner. He's going towards the inside line. Is Matz just trying to follow the toe of the Mercedes in front? Nothing Brendan can do. He just can't get close enough in towards turn 1 to make the move. He's really, really tight to the back of the AlphaTauri, but Matz gets a good run off the corner, and again he holds that position. So Matz's inability at the moment to pass Harry Nawag is costing the rest of the field behind him.
Yeah, and I want to say, just shout out to Harry Nawag. He should apply to be a train driver, because right now he's doing a superb job at it, and he has a 3-second penalty, the only man on track with a 3-second penalty, and right now, such is the quality of the train that he is driving, that penalty would put him in 11th place were the race to end now. So, but he's having his moment in the sun, and he's doing a stellar job at it. I'm sure we'll see some more penalties come in the back end of this race, the final third of this race. But Harry Noir, he is doing a really good job. He extends turn 11 there. I'm not sure if he got a penalty, but if he didn't, he should do. But yeah, Brendan just can't do anything, can he? And it comes down to that same point. You want to be more articulate about it, and give some insightful analysis. But really, it's just not working for him. He's just being blocked by Tim Matt's DRS and by Harry Noir's straight line speed. There's absolutely nothing Brendan can do. He is just completely boxed in.
Yeah, just really stuck at this point of the race. Again, look how late on the brakes he is into turn 1. Nothing he can do, though, about the AlphaTauri in front. And again, just poor run off of turn 1 there. And you just can't get close enough in towards turn 2. The braking zone isn't deep enough for turn 2 for him to think about a move. He's got to wait for either Tim Matz to make the move on Harry Noir, or for one of these drivers in front to make a mistake. He's got a great run through 3, though. Can he think about a move up towards turn 4? He's looking down the inside line. He's not close enough. He's got to make sure he doesn't run wide and pick up a penalty, which he doesn't do so. But he's just trying everywhere to force a mistake out of Mats in front, and Mats at the moment is not doing it. We saw Mats last time out kind of go up a gear really in his racecraft in Austria. He didn't put a foot wrong. The safety car helped him out, and he was able to battle with the right people at the right time to pick himself up a podium. For the second week running, it's playing nicely for Mats here at the moment for a net 4th place finish as it stands. There is another penalty for Harry Noir, so that's going to drop him right to the back of the field as it stands and out of the points, such as the queue of cars that he's got right behind him. Funky Chicken making a move on Rex down towards turn 12. A little bit of wheel banging, I think, between the two of them as Rex comes back down the inside of the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin's going to go around the outside. This is going to separate this queue of cars up. Rex holds 10th, but Funky Chicken's going to get DRS down this straight. Can Funky Chicken get the move on the Alfa Romeo, who's been struggling with tyres all race long on the softs and on the mediums earlier on? And now Funky Chicken to the inside line. Nothing Rex can do about it, and Funky Chicken should be up into 10th place. Passe in the background thinking about trying to get down the inside as well. He can't get the move done. Rex is forced onto the curb again. A little bit of wheel banging between Chicken and Rex down towards turn 2. Rex is going to try and dive it down the inside. Funky Chicken leaves him the space down the inside of the corner, but around the outside Funky Chicken should have this move done. And again Rex is wide, nearly slides back into the side of the Aston Martin, but has managed to hold on to it. He drops to 11th, Chicken up into 10th, and now he's got to try and close back in on this queue of cars in front.
I'm not particularly impressed with Rex's racecraft today. I'll be completely honest with you, but he nearly caused a crash twice there on the exit of turn 1 and the exit of turn 3. But that was still very entertaining racing, and Funky Chicken has come out ahead of it. But as you say, right at the start, it's really broken up this run of cars, and Brent, a penalty for Brent. Luckily, he's got a huge gap, and Harry Noir is doing him a favour, but hopefully there's not another safety car to cost him, because Brent is driving a fabulous race. And I just went on board with Calvin. They had a huge moment coming through turn 14 nearly. It was right on top of the grass on the outside of the corner. So, there's still jeopardy in this race for anyone to lose it. And there goes Tiag past fours of Brendan towards turn 1, is it? What's happened to Brendan here then? They're going side by side. Brendan on the outside, Tiag on the inside. Brendan just going to get run out of road, is he? And here comes Tiag. They've both got DRS, of course. And Brendan backs out, and I wonder what on earth happened there.
I don't know what happened there. He was right tucked up behind the AlphaTauri of Mats just a few corners before, so I'm wondering if Brendan made a mistake somewhere in that final sector, and that's just allowed TR close enough to make the move. He was basically side by side coming through the last corner by the looks of things, so Brendan must have made a mistake, maybe similar to his teammate running through turn 13, and that has just compounded what is going to be a miserable race. It's now Calvin with a time penalty. That has saved Brent that second place for the time being, as Calvin's now dropped completely out of DRS range to Brent in front. So in that last lap, it's all starting to fall apart a little bit for Calvin. He's just dropping back now on those medium compound tyres. We're starting to see that drop in pace, and Harry Noir is starting to close back in on the Red Bull man in front, so it could be another car added to the train, or a new head of this train in just a few laps time. Brendan's race started off so well, it got bad, and now it just seems to be getting worse. And at the moment, with that 5-second time penalty, which will likely be removed unless there's another safety car and he has to serve it, that'll drop him completely out of the points. So at the moment, we were talking about it going into tonight, that this could be a great turning point for Brendan in this championship.
Oh, and Tim Matz. Is this Tim Matz on Harry Noir? Sorry to cut across to you. I think he's going around the outside. I think this is as close as he's been nearly. Tiog's right on the back of him. And here we go. He's going to get a cleaner run towards 2. Harry Noir's got no ERS. He covers the inside line. Matt's is going to go deep around the outside, but Harry Noag is going to go later if he can. They're going to be pinched right up.
Oh!
Tim Matz is squeezed right on the apex of 3. Tiag takes avoiding action. He's into the wall nearly, and now Brendan's trying to get through on Matz. And, it's just about as you were, but Tiag is completely taken out of the equation there. And yellow flag for him. I'm not sure if he's got damage, but that was naughty from Harry Noag. I have to say, he squeezed Matz right up against the apex of 3, which is a pinch point. It's a kink, but it can spin you out by itself. So to put another car up there, very naughty from Harry Noag, and it cost Tiag dear.
Yeah, it really did. Unfortunately, Tiag did pick up damage. He drove clean into the back of Matz as Matz was trying to hold on to the car, basically. So that's a real disaster for Tiag. It was looking at one of his best results of the season so far. He drops to the back of the field. Is going to have to come in for a front wing change. Does Tim Matz have another run at it? Harry Noag is really struggling at this point in the race. He just doesn't have the pace on those hard compound tyres. But every time we come through this final sector, Matz loses a couple of tenths of a second and is never really close enough for a move at turn 1. He's on his DRS again this time around, but I don't think it's going to be close enough for a move at 1 unless he's really, really late on the brakes. He's looked to the outside line. Harry Noag defends the middle of the track. And look at that though, Harry Noag, a terrible exit out of turn 1. This is a great opportunity for Matz to get this move done. He's going to go for the outside line yet again at turn 2. Can he flick his way around the outside? No, he doesn't. He runs a little wide. Brendan's now alongside Matz. Is this Brendan's opportunity to get this move done? He runs around the outside. He's lost the rear of the car off the track. I don't know if he's broken his front wing on the side of Matz, but that's let Luke through. Luke is up into 6th, and I think Brendan does have damage. Brendan, in his desperation to get past Matz, has lost the rear of the car off the track and broken his car. It's Spain all over again.
That is definitely... Oh, and he's now has to take avoiding action. His funky chicken tries to get past him, but he's definitely got damage. Has that Red Bull. You can see him getting out of everyone's way here. He's... Oh, don't rejoin the track there. Oh, dear. But, yeah, I was going to say a couple of laps ago, you can just see the frustration creeping in. I wonder if that's what generated the mistake that let Tiag through, and we've seen that borne out again now. It's cost him completely. I wonder if that's given Tim Matz side pod damage as well in the process, because he gave the side of that AlphaTauri a gigantic whack, didn't he? So I wonder if that's given Tim Matz damage as well.
Brendan, interestingly, stayed out, so he's not come into the pits. Nathan has come into the pits on that lap, so he's another one that's just bailed on those hard compound tyres. And still, Matz cannot get past Harry Noag. No matter what he does, he just can't find a way through. 13 laps now, pretty much into this stint on these set of tyres, and Matz just cannot find a way past. He's faster than Harry Noag at pretty much every point in this track, apart from the final sector where you need it. And now Funky Chicken has spun, coming out of turn 2. He's just dropped the car all on his own. He's hit the wall by the looks of things. I don't know if he's got any damage from it, but Funky Chicken has dropped the car completely on his own. White Hawaii and Rex are now side by side coming through turn 5, and Rex is going to come out on top in that battle by the looks of things. He does get into 9th place. Passe now is up into 8th after all of the dramas that have happened in front of him, but he's now 2.5 seconds off the back of Recurix. So my word, it's really broken up in these last couple of laps. What a disaster though for our championship leader. He's staying out with that damage. I don't know if it is front wing damage or maybe something else on the car, but he's staying out. His only hope in this race now is some sort of safety car.
I can only assume it's something he's not able to fix, if it's damage of another variety, if it's floor or bargeboard side pod. Hey, I told you before we went on air, you said this would be a terrible race. I told you it would be a cracker. And here we are. And I have to say, I keep saying,
look at Luke.
Calvin's tyres are going to struggle. And here we go. Look at Luke on Tim Matz down the outside turn 1. I was about to say, can Tim Matz get on the podium again here? He's got a chance with Harry Noag's penalties, and if Calvin's tyres give up, and in fact he's going to turn this nearly from being overtaken into an overtake attempt, but he just backed out on turn 2 there. But any of these 4 can really get in here. Brendan does come into the pits now. He's onto the soft tyres. Luke going left and right, trying to look at Tim Matz through turn 4. Oh, I've got no idea who's going to end up on the podium here, because Calvin's tyres could pop at any point moment. He's got a 3-second penalty anyway. Harry Noag's got 6 seconds. Then Tim Matz, Luke and Rickerick are just waiting about for something to happen. So I don't think third place is a given in this race just yet.
No, definitely doesn't look like it. The only thing that's stopping Matz from getting a penalty and from AlphaTauri getting a double podium in this race is Harry Noag. Mats is being held up big time by Harry Noir, but still just cannot find a way past. Harry Noir has got something in this final sector over the AlphaTauri behind that the AlphaTauri just can't overcome. He's never close enough coming out of the final corner. And there we go. He's gone wide. He's outbroken himself at turn 13 as Mats. And that's Luke down the inside. Luke has got the move done. That has freed Luke up massively in this race now. He now has a charge at Harry Noir. And if he can get past Harry Noir quickly, he has a massive opportunity of running down to Calvin and stealing the podium off of the Red Bull. The Red Bulls, remember, started 1-2 in this race, and neither of them could end up on the podium in this one. What a disastrous race it's been for them so far. Further down, Rex continues to battle, this time with YYY, who tried to get the move done down the inside of turn 1. So Rex with the cutback towards turn 2. YYY's got the inside line though, and he just drives clean past the Alfa Romeo, who continues to struggle on his tyres. YYY up into 9th place then, and Rex falls down another position. But my oh my, what a battle it is in the middle. And look at that, Luke immediately onto the back of Harry Noir.
And he is dragging. And we've got TR Ground at the back, is he, at turn 13 there? No damage doesn't look like. But yeah, he's in. Luke is right onto the back of Harry Noir, and he is dragging Mats and Rick with him. I don't think these four are at all separable this race. They're going to be battling all the way to the end. And if Harry Noir stays ahead, that's going to be... Oh no, and Tim Mats is out. He's dropped it at turn 11. I think he went too far over the inside curb. The car wouldn't have it. No downforce there. And it just spun him right around. We've got a virtual safety car. Is anyone coming into the pits? Is Calvin going to come into the pits changing tyres? No, he's not. I don't see. It's at this point, 5 laps to go. Just take the risk and hope that they make it to the end. But yeah, Tim Mats, we talked that one up, didn't we? Or I did. Said how he could get on the podium again. Desperate to have him in the post-race interviews again. But sadly, it's not to be. He's out of this race. And that does recover Brendan into the points, who currently sits 13th. So Brendan will be back into the points, and every point counts. So it'll only be a 24-point loss, I think, to Carwin Rob, because Brent has the fastest lap, if I'm not mistaken.
The fastest lap was actually taken by Nathan on the previous lap, so Nathan now has the fastest lap on his soft compound tyres. Brendan was going for a fastest lap run on that lap before the virtual safety car came out, so that's taken away an opportunity of the fastest lap run from him, but he's got another lap to try and do so. When does the virtual safety car get going again, and is anybody close enough to the driver in front to be able to capitalise? We are going again, and look at that, Luke immediately onto Harry Noir, but not close enough to make the move stick in towards the chicane. Rikurik is quite slow on that restart, and that's put Passe now close to the back of the Haasman, so it's all starting to Constantino up again just a little bit for 4th place. Luke is now running out of time to get past Harry Noir and make an indent on Calvin in front. Calvin, of course, with that 3-second penalty, he's 8 seconds up the road. He's got to find 5 seconds at the moment on Calvin in these next 4 laps to try and get onto the podium. It's a tall order if he can get past Harry Noir on this lap, which it looks like he can do so if he get it down towards turn 1. But Harry Noir, fair play, even with the penalties that are going to drop him down, he has been a massive roadblock in this space, and no one up until now, by the looks of things, has been able to get past Luke in the slipstream of the Mercedes down towards turn 1. It's going to go for the inside line this time around. Darts down the inside line. It's going to take a really tight line into turn 1. He runs out wide, forces Harry Noir onto the curb, gives him just enough room. Harry Noir trying to get a good exit down towards turn 2. He'll have the inside line, but Luke with more ERS is able to pull away. And look at that, Rikurik trying to capitalise as well down the inside, but he's not quite close enough to get past the Mercedes. Luke is finally up into 4th and has 3.5 laps to gain 5 seconds on Calvin and get into the podium places.
For half a second there, I thought Rick was going to try a double overtake. It looked like he'd got the move done on Harry Noir, but he just broke early, having that inside line, and he let Harry Noir go. I think he's going to hope that Luke gets away, scampers off, as you say, after Calvin, and then he can get past Harry Noir as well. But it is a big mountain to climb for Luke, but it depends on the state of Calvin's tyres. I keep assuming they're going to be in an awful condition, but maybe he's been looking after them. Maybe he's doing a really good job, because I know they're about 3% a lap, so if that's right, they should be on a 75% nowish, which is in puncture range. But he's got another 3 laps to go after that fact, so we'll see. And it'll be interesting if Luke catches him, or indeed if he gets another penalty, because if he gets another penalty, then he is really in trouble.
Yeah, really would be in trouble, like you say. Coming down the pit straight for the 33rd time, and Rikurik now onto the back of Harry Noir. Harry Noir's already lost DRS to Luke in front. Rick not quite close enough into turn 1. Runs a little bit wide, but he will get a run down towards turn 2. No ERS for the Mercedes, but that poor run through turn 1 from the Haasman means he's not close enough to make a move in towards turn 2. So Harry Noir still holding on for the time being what is a 5th place on the track. That will be taken by Rikurik anyway because of Harry Noir's penalties, but Either way, Rikurik still wanting to get past on track, seeing if he can get close enough to Luke to maybe battle for fourth position. It's all starting to calm down just a little bit now as more drivers have fallen out of range, unfortunately. All really falling apart. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Carwin Rob, that safety car, beautiful for him, and he's just cruising at the front of the field.
He is well and truly cruising. The gap to Brent is just edging up by a tenth or two a lap. Nothing sensationalist from Carwin Robb. He's just doing the job in much the way as his title rival has done many a time this season. He's just having a clean, a calm, a measured race. He's controlling it from the front, not being too exciting, just doing what needs to be done. And he hasn't put a foot wrong, has he? He's done everything right from the first lap. He had that cracking start where he gained 6 places from 14th up to 8th, and then just picked them off one by one and waited for the safety car, and it fell beautifully for him. Definitely, I don't want to give him driver of the day, particularly because the safety car worked so well for him, and that was a huge slice of luck in where he's ended up. But you can't take it away from him, can he? It's either him or Brent. Brent's been outstanding. He's done much the same job as Calvin Robb has. And I'm going to give it to Calvin as well for looking after those tyres. They've all been outstanding, this top three. Done fabulous races while mayhem has gone on behind them. And they're all thoroughly deserving podium finishes if they keep it.
Yeah, of course, if they keep it like you say, we'll have to wait and see. If anybody can steal it off them, Luke is the only one at the moment that could, but he's got 3 seconds to find in a lap. I don't think Luke has got the pace at this point in the race to close in on Calvin unless Calvin's tyres do blow on this final lap or he loses time and makes a mistake, but at the moment, doesn't look like that is the case. Luke not fast enough. Still though, Rikurik can't pass Harry Nowag and is now actually under more pressure from Passe behind than he's putting on Harry Nowag in front. So those medium tyres that they've put on look like they're just starting to fall off a little bit compared to the hards that Harry Nowag is on. Rikurik nearly out of the DRS range in the Mercedes, but just going to hold on to it, which will save him from both of the Williams drivers behind. Passe and White both looking pretty racy as Nathan a bit further down picks up a time penalty, and around goes RJDW with just a lap to go in 10th place. RJDW has dropped the car. I don't think he's got any significant damage and he can continue on and hold that 10th place, but that was a close call there from RJ. That was nearly out of the race with just 1 lap to go.
And it hands a place to Harry Nowag, which he's another man I'd like to give driver of the day to. Outstanding train driving, and he deserves much better than he's going to get even with his penalties. So he's doing another job here, is he? Holding up Rikurik, holding up Passe and White the 2 Williams. But yeah, I'm very unfortunate for RJ, but he doesn't really lose too much. Just 1 point to Harry Nowag there. Because that training really has settled down now. I don't think anyone's going to make any progress on this last lap.
Definitely doesn't look like it. We've only got just a sector to go. Carwin Robb through turn 11 for the final time. It wasn't a great qualifying session for him. He crashed later on in the session. He had a great opening lap and worked his way up inside the top 10 on those medium tyres, and the safety car came out at a perfect time for him, and he has made best use of that situation while his championship rival has floundered and made mistakes in this race and dropped down to 12th. Carwin Robb is going to win for the second time this season. He wins in Budapest with a brilliant drive in that Alpine. Brent is going to be on the podium once again. What a brilliant drive from him. And Calvin is going to take the medium compound tyres 29 laps and finish on the podium by just a second in the end. Calvin holds on for that podium finish. Luke will get 4th and Rikurik will get 5th on penalties. Harry Nowag drops down to 9th because of his 2 penalties, and RJ not close enough to capitalise on those. It was a bit of a quiet end to the race. It was a crazy mid-race that one was in that one, and you said at the start that this could have been a race of attrition. It definitely was that. 7 retirements in the end. A lot of drivers with mistakes throughout one, and the only drivers in this race that didn't put a foot wrong were the ones that ended up on the podium.
Second race in a row I've called a crazy race, and second race in a row it's transpired. Maybe I should do this every week and just say it's going to be a crazy race, because it seems to come true. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Kudos to the 3 guys who finished on the podium. All outstanding. Brendan, I think he just lost his head a little bit. I'm sure he'll watch this back and he'll feel I'm probably treating him unfairly there. But it was a move he didn't need to make. Certainly not there. But because it was going so well for him up to that point. We were seeing how it was falling into his hands yet again. And then lo and behold, that happened. It would have been a very different race without that safety car. But that's so it happened, and you can't take anything away from the top 3. They did what needed to be done. Yeah, Carwin Robb has definitely kept this title fight alive, hasn't he? I'm not sure what the gap is. I'm sure we'll be able to have a quick look at the numbers, but definitely made up for Tin Can's absence.
Yeah, Carwin Robb should move back up into second place in the championship. Just 2 points ahead of Tin Can, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 23 points off the championship lead. So he will completely halve the gap, pretty much, in this race to Brendan. So around that anyway, at least. So I think the person that's going to be the most happy after this race is probably Tin Can, knowing he's not here tonight, and he's not actually lost really anything by not being here. But that is at least a sigh of relief for him going into these next rounds, and it looks like we may have a three-way title battle after all, by the looks of things. Let's have a look then at this finishing order. Then it's Carwin Rob from 15th on the grid. He wins the race. From Brent, 14th on the grid to second place. What a drive from him as well. Calvin holds on those old mediums to the third. Then it's Luke, Recuric, Passe, Wyatt White, Rex, Harry Nawag, RGW, Nathan, and Forza Brendan are your point scorers. Forza Brendan didn't get the fastest lap in the end. That's still held by Nathan, so he will get the fastest lap point. Funky Chicken, the only other finisher in that race. He's the only person to finish outside the points. Matt, Tiag, Chill, Darry, Noah, Jamie, and J. Cole. 7 retirees from that race. A race of attrition in the end. My oh my, what a race of attrition. And like I said, that opens it up now in the championship. We were talking going into this race about having, well, Brendan run away at the front of the championship. It now looks like it's back to a 3-horse race.
Definitely is. I think Tin Can, he's good at just driving the kind of races that we saw today and saw last week. He's definitely in it. Carmen Robb's got the raw speed. Brendan's got the right balance, but has he got the? Is he going to hold his nerve if he makes more mistakes like he did today? So I think it's very finely poised. I think we're going to see a cracking second half of the season because we are officially past halfway. I think on lap 17 or 18 today in the season. So if that's how the first half's gone, I very much hope we get a cracking second half. I don't want to see Brendan run away with it, outstanding though he's been. I want to see a proper battle for the championship.
Yeah, and that's definitely manifested itself after that race. And speaking of someone in the Drivers' Championship, the winner of the race has joined us in the party for some post-race interviews. So, first and foremost, congratulations, Carmen Rob. I'm pretty sure you maybe weren't expecting that result after qualifying, but in the end, that is another win for you this season. How are you feeling after that one?
Very sweaty. But I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest, because I knew softs were in the way in qualifying. So I just wanted to see what time I could get close to on softs. And I went purple sector 1 and 2, I think. And then I invalidated, so, I don't know. And then on my medium lap, it felt pretty good, but the last 2 corners, I think, I just lost it. We're expecting to retire, but there we are. And so I just knew I had a really good race on my hands. And then I think, honestly, my start won me my race. I think I was up to P9 on the first lap.
Yeah, talk us through that start then. We obviously saw there was a little bit of commotion in the mid-pack around turns 3 and 4. You're obviously somewhere around the middle of that. Talk us through that first lap and what your thoughts were by the end of it, obviously coming up from P15 to P9.
Well, my initial start was okay. I jumped like 2 cars, I think. And then turn 1, I just took the outside line. I seen cars flying, going wide, going everywhere, and a gap just opened for me. And then up to turn 4, I think it is, the fast left, a Merc went off, so I said thank you. And then I seen that I was P9 and I thought, I might actually be on for the win. And I just kept looking at my map at the Red Bulls, seeing how closer I could get to them, because obviously they're my rivals. And seeing that Brendan pitted for mediums, I thought he's gone for the 2-stop, obviously, and I thought there's no way he can win it unless he pulls something insane out of the bag. And then there was a safety car when I was leading, which gifted me again. And I seen the Brando went on the mediums again. I think it was lap 13. And just before the race, I done a couple of laps in Grand Prix mode to just know what tyres are like around Hungary. And I knew that mediums, they could do quite a lot of laps, but I knew he'd struggle at the end, so there was no way he was catching me. So my goal was just to keep Brent behind, because I knew he had pace. Because we had a little battle on the first lap, and yeah, so overall happy with the result.
Yeah, brilliant result from you in the end, and obviously, championship-wise, that's a real turnaround after what was a pretty awful race for you, unfortunately, in Austria. So, back within a race win of the championship lead now, with Force Brendan obviously not having the race that he would have wanted either. How are you feeling going forwards into the second half of the season? Do you think that you've been able to build quite a bit of momentum in the recent rounds, and do you think you can challenge for this title?
Well, Austria definitely ruined my confidence. I thought the championship's over, but today I obviously rebuilt that, and I think it's still on. Just need to stay with Brendan, and hopefully we have a good battle.
Yeah, should definitely be a good battle going forwards. Jake, have you got anything you would like to ask our race winner?
Normally, I usually ask something about the strategy and your thought process, but I think it just pretty much fell into your lap today. So, what I will say is you've now had 3 wins and a second place in your last 5 races. But I look at Austria, it's really, really turned around for you. Bit of a contentious question, but do you think you're the quickest driver in D3? Do you think you're quicker than Brendan?
I don't know. I really don't know. He's just too consistent.
Oh,
That's why I think he's
I
just
asked,
so
are you
good.
are you the quickest? Not are you the most consistent?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't say.
He's trying to
Very
get.
com.
He's trying
I'm
to get
definitely
some.
not the most consistent.
He's trying to get some title beef, a little bit of a title battle going on there. He's trying to get that answer out of you. But thank you, Carwin Bob, for joining us in the party, and congratulations on your 3rd win of the season. We look forward to seeing what you can do next time out, of course, at Portimao, I believe. So that will be a great race once again. So thank you for joining us in the party. Unfortunately, the other 2 drivers from this race will not be joining us in the party by the looks of things. So that is it for tonight. Jake, have you got anything that you would like to add just before we finish off today?
I just what as always, what a cracking race, and hopefully next week more of the same. Portugal next week, very much looking forward to that. And if it's anything like a team event race I did last week, it's going to be an absolute madness yet again. So very looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. That is definitely going to be a great one to commentate over. What a great track Portimao is, and should provide a great race. But for myself and Jake, thank you so much for joining us again this evening. Tuning obviously in about 15 minutes time for D2 and D5. You can go back and watch D1 and D4 streams as well. They took place while D3 was going on, so make sure you go back and watch those races as well. But for myself and Jake, we will see you in a week's time at 6:30 on Saturday for Portimao. Thank you so much, and goodbye.